G'day YouTubers, and welcome to episode 8 in the Offshore series east of Moreton. This is going to be a really short video. As I've said for the last few videos, I've been super busy. I'm still super busy. I was actually so busy I forgot to include some of the material I wanted to put in the last video. So this is just a short addendum to the last video showing you the material that I meant to mention about round patch but didn't get around to talking about. So here it is. Hope it helps. I showed this screenshot of the bathymetry in the area of the round patch marks in the last episode. What I didn't show you was the marks superimposed on the bathymetry, and that is this next shot. As you can see, there's a lot of structure in that area, particularly around the 4 northernmost marks. You don't have to fish on those marks, but you do have to scan around on your sounder in between those marks, all around them. There's so much structure there. If the fish are anywhere in the area, you're bound to find them. Just scan around that whole area. This shot's the same area, a little bit zoomed out, just to show you how extensive that patch of structure on the bottom is. There's basically 2 lines of it, the wider line to the west and a somewhat narrower line to the east, which runs right up through the pad. You can zigzag all the way along these lines, looking for the fish. As I said, so much structure down there, you're bound to find something. In this shot you can see that that western wide section of reef runs for about 5 nautical miles in a roughly 350 degree direction. It runs all the way through deep tempest, so that'll give you some idea of just how varied the bottom is in this area, how much structure there is. It's just a great area to look for fish. And the more easterly, narrower section of reefy, rough terrain underwater runs roughly 345 degrees and again for nearly 5 nautical miles. You can zigzag along that too, and if you put the hard yards in looking for the fish, you're bound to get a show. The key point is to recognise the fish on your sounder when you see them, and then figure out how you're going to get your bait down into that area. And that's pretty much all I had to say that I didn't get into the last video. I'm very sorry about that, but here it is here. The reason that I'm so busy, if you haven't been following any of my other videos, is that I'm making some major modifications to my boat. And that's keeping me off the water, which is starting to get a bit frustrating because it's been a bad year for weather. And now that we're finally getting a little bit of good weather where I could have gotten out, I've got my boat in pieces and I can't get out. So I'm really focused on getting that fixed so that I can get back out and do some fishing. This is the dashboard of the boat pretty much as I bought it. It's not the best shot, you can't see very much of it, but it does give you an idea of just how small that dashboard was. And it had the really small screen Garmin sounder and GPS in there. Not a very impressive unit at all, to be honest. And the dashboard was shaped that there wasn't a lot of room to do anything with it. You can see there's a couple of gauges either side of the Garmin. And yes, you just no room to fit anything. The first thing I did after buying the boat was I bought a Raymarine 12-inch unit, and I had to mount that on top of the dash because there was no room to cut it into the dashboard and flush mount it. But that served me really well. I was quite happy with that for a long time. But I wanted some better resolution on the underwater picture in the shallows of Moreton Bay, so I put a Hummingbird unit in as well to get that. That goes up to much higher frequencies and gives you superb resolution. But because you're using higher frequencies, that resolution only comes in shallow water. So the Raymarine was sort of the deep water unit and the Hummingbird the shallow water unit. Almost from the beginning I had an issue with Raymarine about their policy on the autopilot. When I bought the autopilot for it, I told the salesman what I intended to use it for, which was basically trolling. Wanted to set up a trolling pattern so that I could attend to the lines while it steered the boat, and all I had to do was keep a lookout. Didn't say anything to me about the limitations that the Raymarine company had put on their autopilot, and that is that it won't turn a corner unless you're at the wheel to press a button and say, yes, it's okay to turn. That's not an autopilot to me. An autopilot flies a plane, an autopilot steers a boat. autopilot doesn't need to be told, yes, you can do it. So anyway, I've had that issue for a long time, and I had a couple of other things happen, and I just decided that it's time to change. So with all the bad weather we're having, I decided that I'd cut the entire dashboard out of my boat and remake it so that I could flush mount a large MFD in there. And that's what I've done, that's what I'm in the middle of doing now, and that job sort of snowballed. It became not just mounting a large MFD in the dashboard, it became putting in through-hull transducers and rewiring the whole boat, because there are other things that have to happen, and it's become a major project. It's taken me probably 3 weeks now, and at least another week to go before I finish it. This is all working part-time after work and weekends. So anyway, that's where it's at the moment. That's why the videos have taken sort of a back seat for the moment. But once I get this in, we'll be full steam ahead on the videos again, and hopefully getting out there a bit and catching a few fish. Well, that's it. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. I hope you get something out of those marks I've shown you at Round Patch, and particularly the area that you should be scanning looking for fish. You can go all the way through to Deep Tempest, and between Round Patch and Deep Tempest, you ought to find something on your sounder. Best of luck. Until next time, good fishing.